So you're starting out in iOS development, or maybe you're just itching, to ask that question that everyone wants to know on Twitter. What is the best architecture? Or better yet, what is the best architecture for SwiftUI? Well, to be honest, there's a lot of architectures and there are a lot of design patterns too. And people tend to either get the two mixed up or not fully understand why and when you'd want to use them. Well, in this video, we're going to do just that. So I can actually help you understand why and when you'd want to use a certain architecture and the difference between design patterns. So let's get straight into it. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, what is an architecture anyways, right? Well, in layman terms, it's a way for us to define the structure and rules that our project should follow. Now, there's a whole host of architectures that you could use, each with their own rules and structures, but the main goal of them is to help you form consistency, scalability, testable code, and reusable code within your code base. So why is this even important, And to be honest with you, it actually does depend on your situation because you might not care about any of that and you just want to build an app, which is cool. But some developers do care about architectures, and the reason why it's important is because let's imagine you've started a new job as an iOS developer and you look at the code base and you try to find an example of you trying to fetch some data from an API, which, by the way, I have a whole free course that you can actually check out on my site, which I'll leave a link in the description box below. All right, enough of me plugging myself, but let's say you're in that team and each developer has their own style. You're going to be, looking at the code base like, brother, what's going on? And the problem that you've got there is that you don't have a, consistent code base where everyone follows the same rules to help the project reach its goals. And that's where architectures come in with that consistency. Now, another point is scalability. And I said this keyword before, but I didn't actually go into too much detail about what it actually means. When I say this word, what I mean is that it's easy to add onto existing code. So let's say we want to reuse a screen in a different context when performing navigation. I don't want to have to repeat that code again, because let's be honest, us developers, we're lazy. We want things to be done for us. And I simply just want to create that screen and then just live my best life. So we spoke about an architecture being more of an overall structure than what is a design pattern? Well, design patterns are solutions to common problems that we face as developers. Think of them as the Avengers of iOS problems. And let's be honest with everyone, I said it, I am a Marvel person over DC all day. Argue with me in the comment section below. I've got time. A good example of this is a singleton. Now, this isn't an architecture. It's actually more of a design pattern, and its purpose is to actually help create only one instance of an object that you can easily use throughout your entire project. So where would this be useful? Well, in examples in my videos, you'll see that I'll actually create a networking object, which is a good example. We don't want to create a new instance of our service logic every single time. We just want one that we can easily call, and singletons help us achieve this. And as you can see on the screen here, there's actually a whole bunch of patterns that you can use too. Okay, cool. So we broke that down and now you're wondering, okay, so for SwiftUI, tons, what is the best architecture? Because there's a whole bunch of them. There's MVVM, there's MVC, there's this new one called MV, there's Viper, there's TCA, there's Clean. I need to take a sip of water just pronouncing all of that. And there's even more that I can't even list in the video. But when you're actually tackling this, the honest answer is, and no one wants to hear this because it's such a politician answer, it depends. And I know you're probably going thinking that, okay, Tons, I didn't come here for this video for it depends. I came here to know what is the best. And I'm just going to say, hold on, don't just click off the video just yet. It actually depends on what your project needs. So let me break this down. So let's say you're someone who just wants to build a quick app and put it onto the store. You're a solo indie dev and you just want to create stuff quickly. You don't really care about architecture. To be honest with you, you don't really need to follow an architecture at all. You could just build your app using the built-in SwiftUI property wrappers and just place things in the view since you just want to get something quick onto the store and you just, want to get a prototype out. It's not really a massive deal for you to have an architecture. Now, once you feel like something is, starting to get a bit messy in terms of your project, then you can actually refactor it and add something in. There really is no rules to programming, you can be as creative as you want and you can kind of do whatever it is you need to do to reach your goal. Now, maybe you don't need all the boilerplate of MVVM or TCA or clean architecture, and all these architectures may just slow you down since you just want to build something quick and fast. You don't really need it at all. Using state and bindings would be more than enough. So MVC can work for some projects.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me.
Now, I personally am going to label this scenario as a quick solution because I've been seeing an MV pattern floating around lately, and I feel like this falls into that category as if you want to just build an app really quickly. And in my opinion, apps built this way aren't meant to be clean. They're going to help you build fast, which is cool if that's your goal, but you may face issues with scalability, your views being bloated, testing, and reusability as well. You're someone who actually wants to build an app that isn't a quick solution, and you need some kind of structure in place because that's just what you like. You want it to be easier in the future to actually understand, or someone will be joining you to work on this project where you have some rules, structure, and separate your code. Then I'd argue you probably do want to follow some kind of architecture. Now you may be wondering which one. Now, in terms of a nice blend for you to learn a clear structure and you won't be overwhelmed, I personally would suggest MVVM, which I do have a free course on. Now, in my opinion, this is the architecture that gives you the best of both worlds in terms of testability, reusability, and scaling it up. Now, that's not to say MVVM is perfect, since it does have its flaws in SwiftUI, and it can introduce a lot of boilerplate for things such as API calls and stuff like core data. I just feel that it's a nice in between to help you separate out your logic and keep your views dumb. Now, there are other architectures that may be more suited to you, such as TCA, which is the composable architecture, but you need to remember your goals. Is it for high testability? Do you want a solid base structure for your project? Do you need to really separate everything? Do you need high performance with your screens being like rendered? There's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself, and depending on your project that you're building, you need to ask yourself what is your goal and then do your research. Now, if you're looking to work in a team, my advice would be to play around and experience different architectures. One of the best things you can do as a dev joining a team is being able to slot into their architecture. So having experience with different ones will help you massively. Now, this isn't me saying that you need to go and learn all the architectures that have ever existed. That's impossible. Personally, instead, what I would do is some tutorials and gain familiarity with them. So when you're interviewing or when you look at a code base, you will know your way around the architecture when you're faced with it. Now, I'm curious to hear how you learn architectures. So if you do have any advice for anyone else, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. Okay, cool. So you can see that your situation plays into what you should do. So what is the answer to what is the best SwiftUI architecture? And truthfully, there isn't. SwiftUI feels like a playground that allows us to experiment and build apps. I never say to anyone that MVVM is the right way to go, since in some of my videos, I don't even use MVVM. And likewise, I wouldn't say that the MV is the perfect way to go as well, because it has its own pitfalls. But what we should be doing as developers, and especially for new developers, is instead showing and teaching them that learning and researching which architecture fits your needs the most is the best way to go. So next time you're in the situation that I described above, form a decision off that and just build something. Now, if you enjoy my teaching style, I actually do have some courses that you can check out on my website, which I link in the description box below. And also, if you really enjoyed this video, then feel free to either, donate in the thanks button or buy me a coffee as well. And if you don't want to pay any money and you want to support me for free, I really appreciate it if you share this video, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to get updates for whenever I release a new video. As you can see, I'm wearing my Arsenal t-shirt, so Gunners, let's win this league. That's everything from me. I'll catch you all in a bit. Deuces.